Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I do want to talk about Xavi Hernandez and him holding his first training session with FC Barcelona. This was a day where it is going to be very unforgettable because Xavi Hernandez, again, he has held his first training session. He held talks with Garcia, Pedri, Ansu, Dembele, Samuel Umtiti. Many of these players who are currently injured, they did stay at Barcelona and now they are working with Xavi Hernandez. So this could be a blessing in disguise because, you know, they're going to be training with Xavi for these next 9 to 10 days, and it's going to be a very positive type of time because we want to see these players, Garcia, Pedri, Ansu, Dembele, Umtiti, Gerard, Pique, all train with Xavi Hernandez and be maximally prepared for the next match, which will be against Espanyol. And just looking at these pictures and the videos, we can see that it was a very fresh and positive type of training session. You can see that the players really looked happy, they looked pumped, the vibes were just great. And it does still feel like a dream, right? To know that Xavi Hernandez is dressed as a Barcelona coach, to see him with the players, everything just feels so unreal and I love it. But here's what we're going to be doing in this video. Because Xavi has held his first training session with Barcelona and the players that are not in international duty, I want to talk about a report that did surface earlier today, and it was speaking about how Xavi is going to be asking for certain things coming from these players, a certain set of rules that will be implemented within this club. And let me tell you guys, this is a very important discussion to have because there's been many reports over the past 2 years, 3 years. There was no authority going on in the locker room. There was no self-accountability going on with these players. The commitment coming from these players was also something that was very worrying. And we can get that feeling, right? Because every time we did see the players and their attitudes, their body language, the way they played on the field, it was making us think that, is this club actually serious? Is this club even wanting to compete in the highest level of football? But before we go further into this video, I do want to talk about the OneFootball app. The OneFootball app is the best football app you could find within the App Store when it comes to the latest transfer news, the daily news, anything that you do want to follow regarding your favorite player or your favorite club or your team or any international team. All of that is going to be compact within the OneFootball app. And for those of you guys who are in the UK, one of the best new features that the OneFootball app does carry, it is having La Liga highlights within the app. So if you guys do want to find any highlights regarding Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Valencia, whichever club you do desire, the OneFootball app will be having that and right inside your phone. So the link is going to be in the description box down below. By clicking that link, you guys will be able to support me and this YouTube channel. It would be greatly appreciated. But now let's get back into the video. So there has been a total of 10 different rules that Xavi Hernandez has re-injected back into this club. These rules that we are going to be discussing, this has been implemented before back in the days when Xavi Hernandez was one of the players for Barcelona. But let's first start with rule number 1, and that's going to be this: the players must be an hour and a half early before training sessions. The goal is to have time to prepare for the training sessions and to be able to make some individual talks. So that basically means that because they're going to be having individual talks with these players, they're basically doing that because they want to know if there's any individual work that needs to be done with these players. Because of course, many of these players are different. They perform differently. They work differently. And they need to understand and have time to know what are going to be the necessities for these players. If they encounter an injury, okay, what are we going to be doing next? Do we need to do this exercise in order to regain form, or do we need to do a specific amount of work in order for you to be fit again? So many of these things, right, these players do require sometimes different workouts. Going on to rule number 2, and it does say here that the staff must appear 2 hours before training. The aim would be to have everything ready to start the session when the players start to arrive. So of course, we want to have maximum preparation. We want to know that these coaches, these staff members are having everything prepared for these players, and these staff members are leading by example. Players are going to be coming in 1 hour and 30 minutes earlier, while the staff is going to be coming in 2 hours before. Now let's move on to rule number 3, and that is that the players of the first team have to eat lunch in the dining room of the Blaugrana facilities under the parameters set by the club's nutritionist. A correct diet can prevent injuries and improve physical preparation. So of course, this is going to be another thing that we do need, because part of the reason on why many of these players have been experiencing so many fitness issues, it is because of their diets. And many of these players do need different diets, do need different meals, just exactly how we talked about it in the first rule. They need different workouts to understand what are going to be the necessities for today. Moving on to rule number 4, and that is going to be that fines are going to be back into this club. Meaning, the truth is that footballers are professional enough to know what they have and what they don't have to do can work in ideal scenarios, and in real life it is complicated. Xavi wants to establish rules just like Pep Guardiola, which ended up working. And this is something that Pep has done before. This whole thing about finding players for doing specific things or doing the wrong things, this was taken away back in the summer of 2017. And this is going to lead us towards the next rule, which will be rule number 5, because it does see here that the fines will be fixed with a geometric rhythm and not a arithmetic one. That means that if a player is late for training, he would pay the lightest penalty, 100 euros. If he's late for training for the second time, it would be 200 euros. If he's late for the third time, it would be 300 euros. If he's late for the fourth time, it would be 400 euros, and so on. And this is going to be a great test, right, to know that who is going to be accountable within this squad. Because look, if you are going to be coming in late and at the same time you know that you're going to be paying a fine for that, it is only going to just show the club that you are not someone who is responsible. You're going to be showing the club that you are irresponsible, even if that does mean that you have to pay a fine. So this is really going to show the club who these players actually are, because if a fine cannot stop them, then what could? Moving on to rule number 6, 48 hours before a game, you cannot be home late. When a team is 2 days away from playing a game, it is prohibited to arrive after midnight. It is considered that the player must be aware that he has to arrive at the game in the best possible condition. Now, there are many players that I know that are playing in different clubs out there in France, England, Italy, that are actually doing this. Like 48 hours before a match is going to be starting, they're out there in the middle of the night, going out to clubs, parties, doing whatever, going out with friends. And one of the main reasons on why Barcelona wants to implement this again, they do not want to see these players get tired very easy. They don't want to see these players not focused on the field, because what that's basically showing is that these players want to prioritize their life out of football over their life in football. And this could also be another possible reason on why these players are getting injured, because the fact that this club, Xavi, right, has to place this rule in here in the first place, it is because this could actually be happening within this club. Now let's move on to rule number 7, and that is going to be meritocracy. You play like you train, and meritocracy is the only way to success. Only those who train the best and who have the most commitment at work will have options to be starters. The rest will be at the bench, or in the worst case, they will not be summoned. And there you have it, right? This is basically Xavi Hernandez telling the club that there is going to be no favorites within this squad. Like, if you train well, regardless of who you are, you're going to be playing on the pitch, whether you are a big name or not. If that big name, whoever it may be, is not training as good as someone who has a smaller name, the one with the smaller name and the one that has not really proven anything yet within that club will be the one that's going to be playing on the pitch as it should be. This is only going to be taking away the audacity coming from these players, because many of these players that we have been seeing over the past 10 years, 12 years, there has been big names that think that just because they are very well known, because they are big names, they're going to be playing regardless of how they train during the training sessions. Xavi Hernandez is going to be taking that away. So for example, if Balde ends up training better than Jordi Alba, that means Balde will be playing on the pitch. If Demir ends up playing better than Dembele in the training sessions, Demir will be starting over Dembele within the starting 11. That is basically how Xavi wants to run things. And that is also basically the answer towards everyone saying that, oh no, Xavi cannot be the coach because he's going to be having favoritism for Gerard, Pique, Sergio Busquets, Jordi Alba, Sergio Roberto. He loves those players. No matter what, they're going to be playing even if they train very bad during the training sessions. Well, there you go. This is your answer. Xavi will have no problem sitting down these veterans, because the first thing that does need to happen first in order for him to make a decision on who is going to be in the starting 11 is going to be whether these players train well, yes or no. And now let's run through the last 3 rules within this club. Rule number 8 is going to be the control of extra sports activities. Footballers can have other activities that are not strictly football, but if these end up affecting their performances by needing to travel or dedicate many hours, they will have to be supervised by the coaching staff. Moving on to rule number 9, prohibited risk activities. No more seeing a player surfing or riding an electrical bike. This type of practice is sanctioned as a very serious offense and would pass to the legal department, as it is considered a flagrant breach of contract. Moving on to point number 10, players are a fundamental part of the club and they have to be the first to set an example. Empathetic with fans must be shown, and reprehensible attitudes are prohibited. During the trips, they must comply with the rules of conduct and encourage Barcelona at all times. And so that is basically it, right? Like, these rules are going to be great. These type of rules that are going to be implemented in this squad, it's going to be making Barcelona a serious club. This is greatly going to benefit Barcelona in the short term and in the long term. Like, I no longer, and many of us no longer, wants to see Barcelona have those fun training sessions where they're smiling, kicking the ball, just talking to each other, relaxing. Like, we don't want to see that. We want to see a serious training session, a training session that we know is going to be very beneficial. Like, go look at Man City and how Bayern do train throughout their day. It's like a military session out there. We want to see that in Barcelona. And for the players, right, who do see this as a problem, to see that, oh, there's so many rules, why do we have to be so controlled within this club, then they're going to have to sit out, or they're going to have to be sold. Because let me tell you guys, like, look, first of all, if you guys do think that these rules are too much, or this is too much for a group of players, and that this is not how you should be running a serious club, let me tell you guys this. Back in the summer of 2010, there was a clash between Ibrahimovic and Pep Guardiola. Why? It is because Ibra was disgusted by how Barcelona were running, because of how strict they were. Because just look at what Ibra did say back in that summer. He basically described the Barcelona changing room as a place where everyone sat there in silence and well behaved. He explained that Messi, Xavi, and Iniesta were like schoolboys who obeyed every command without question. Then he continued to say that I am a guy who likes those who drive through red lights. Messi began to talk and ask for another role on the pitch. Things changed. Guardiola preferred to do what he wanted. And then after a while, Ibra basically told Pep Guardiola and said, look, I'm a Ferrari, but you are driving me as if I were a Fiat. And then the next thing we saw after that was basically Ibra being sold to AC Milan on that summer. And then 9 months later, after that incident did happen, Barcelona won the Champions League, which was the 2010-2011 season. So that whole schoolboy type of insult that Ibra brought to these players, those are not players being schoolboys at that club. That's not what it is. What was basically happening at that moment was Pep Guardiola running a superpower team, a super team, a team that can fly. You want to talk about being a Ferrari? Well, Pep Guardiola wanted to make this as a plane, a team that can fly, not drive, be in the air, enjoy the moment, being on a completely different level from everyone else. And that is why those exact same rules are going to be back implemented to this club, is because we want to see this Barcelona club with these players fly, to be a super team, a superpower team that can take on any club out there in Europe. And if any player sees this as trouble, then they're going to have to get out. As bad as that may seem, the club needs to be above all. And it even got to a point where back in 2012, Gerard Pique was also having some trouble trying to listen to these rules that were being implemented, because Pep Guardiola was saying that, look, you're having so much trouble trying to focus in football because you have a girlfriend now, which is Shakira, and Shakira bothers me because he's taking you away from this football club. And it did get to a point where Pique was not even being used in a Clásico back on that year. So Pep Guardiola was very serious, and the fact that Pep has made a decision to take down Gerard Pique and sit him down as if he did not win the treble for Barcelona, or win the sextuple for Barcelona, or won 2 Champions League for Barcelona, that is basically showing just how strict Pep was and how he was very loyal to the rules, how this football team should be run. And Xavi Hernandez, because he has lived through those moments, because he was taught in that way, he's going to be bringing that back to this club. But that is basically it. That is going to be wrapping up today's Barcelona daily news. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are new here, welcome to the channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys in the next video.